a great show today. You know, you've thought about it, tried to schedule it, even found yourself daydreaming about it. Well, today it's yours. Put all the guilt aside. This is a working woman's holiday. I think it's safe to say, if you're a woman, you could use some rest. Our fast-paced society creates great expectations, but nothing like the pressure-packed plans we make for ourselves. We've got husbands, homes, careers, church, children, and the list just goes on and on. Women at work are trying to succeed while juggling jobs at home. The stay-at-home moms are trying to figure out who came up with this title so far removed from the truth. And retired women, you're so busy. When did you ever find time to work? We're all simply busy being busy. So, super women, super moms, it's time to slow down. And before you can even get a chance to feel guilty, please say hello to our guest, author Kim Thomas. Great.
Hi.
Good to see you. Good to see you. You're going
to
share with us today how to slow down and rest as women.
And perhaps maybe we'll take a little nap.
Okay. Well, let's do it. Let's do it. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Come on back. Let's talk about slowing down and just breathing.
Sharing our story sets us free. A vision of God.
Thanks for staying with us. We're talking today with Kim Thomas, and she's here to remind us of something we may have forgotten. It took God 6 days to create the world, but then even God rested. You know, that's really good. Even God rested. I think, though, I have to ask the question, did he have to?
Well, certainly our Heavenly Father, who is able beyond our wildest imagination, did not stretch his arms, yawn, and go, whew, I need a nap. But because he knew us and he designed us so specifically, he did model rest for us. And I'm so grateful for that. Because I don't know about you, but I'm not sure I've given myself permission that it's okay to rest. And when we take a look in the scripture, particularly like in the first book of the Bible, it says that after 6 days, God finished his work. And then in the next chapter, it says he ceased from his labors and he rested. And what I took from that, Deborah, was that we can cease from whatever we're doing and then feast on the goodness of the creation. And for me, that gave just a little bit more definition to what does this mean to rest? Because beyond taking a nap, you know, it can seem sort of abstract and sort of elusive. What does it really mean to rest? And that helps give, I think, a little bit of a structure from which to look at this subject.
For you, as an author,
Right.
a painter, a songwriter, a wife, you know, what made you finally see that I need to rest? Okay, this is enough.
Isn't it sad? It usually comes down to, you know, crying. Doesn't it always come down to crying?
Breaking down.
My husband and I were out one evening, and that year I had written a book, I had painted an art show, I had written and recorded a record, and in this one evening we were out with 3 other couples, and the noise in the restaurant became kind of this background hum, and then the conversations, and then the waiter coming, and suddenly that little buzzer that had been ringing in my soul for so long got louder and louder, and I excused myself and went to the only place that you can be alone in public, the ladies' restroom. And I locked myself securely into the privacy of my own little stall, and as I sat there precariously perched, I put my head down and I looked and I began to see little sable brown Maybelline tinted puddles collect in my hands, and I just wept. And in that moment, I think I finally, I heard that really generous offer from the book of Matthew when Jesus said, "Come unto me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." And that echoed so deeply in my soul, and it resonated within me to a point that I wasn't even aware how spent I really was. And so that at that point, I determined, okay, I got to do something about this. I have got to change my life, change my perspective and what I value.
So how did you start? How did you get started?
Well, first of all, like I say, you got to give yourself permission. That rest is, it's not only okay, it's essential, and it can actually be an act of worship, because we were designed with it as part of our DNA.
Yeah.
And so what I began to do was look and see, how do I order my world? Because what happens is we would rather be caught doing anything, even poorly, than to be caught in the act of resting. You know, how much shame do you have if somebody calls while you're in the middle of a nap? You know, you struggle to answer the phone and get your I'm awake voice. Hello? No, I wasn't sleeping. No. Because wouldn't that be horrible if somebody thought that you were sleeping?
Why is that? Why do we think that we, especially women, we
Right.
think we have to do more, we have to have more, we have to be more?
Don't you think it's because we continually find our self-worth and our self-esteem in what we do as opposed to who we are? And that goes back to the, you know, the oldest definition of who am I and what makes me valuable, what makes me important. And the mere fact that I am an image bearer, I am God's, I'm designed in His image, makes me special. And I don't have to earn that love that God offers so freely. So I think each day, you know, you go through the day, and if you don't have a lot on your to-do list, you don't feel like you've had a worthwhile day. Do you know, there's even been times where at night when I get ready to get in bed, I don't feel like I deserve that night's rest until I've done more. And so I'll jump out of bed and I'll get a sponge and I'll clean the sink in the bathroom, or I'll, you know, I'll clean the toilet or something very banal just to say, oh, look what I've done, and check that off. And then I feel like I'm worthy of that rest. And that's a really, we've really warped our understanding of what's valuable. It's valuable to give yourself time to pause, to be refreshed, to enter into wholeness.
But when you do that, when you find time to pause, it requires you to look inward. And that's not a very comfortable thing for a lot of people to do, because that's why we stay so busy.
That's right.
Because
Yeah, we're afraid
not
of that
comfortable with
quiet.
ourselves yet. How do you get to a point of saying, okay, I've got to be comfortable enough with me to rest?
It's a very personal thing. You know, for me, I in particular love solitude, and so in quiet is when I find that place. For some people, it's really different, because I know for my husband, rest, entering into Sabbath rest, that quiet rest that restores our soul. For him, it may look like mowing the lawn. For me, that looks like work. But for him, he can enter into that, and that restores his soul. So what does it look like to restore my soul? Perhaps you might make a list of those things that you've always wanted to do but never gave yourself permission to do. Perhaps it's wandering through a local museum. Perhaps it's wandering through the local garden center and just taking a look at the flowers that you wish you had time to grow. Perhaps it's planting one plant and nurturing that plant each morning, you know, giving yourself 10 minutes to be in your garden. There's a variety of so many different things that we haven't given ourselves permission to do, because we're just so afraid that makes us lazy or unimportant. I know, when's the last time you spoke to someone and said, what are you doing today? And they said, well, you know, I have a really good day planned. I'm going to have some time this afternoon for some quiet meditation and read a book that I've really wanted to read. Tonight I'm going to take a hot bath with some candles, and I don't know, I might go to bed early. The problem is we're afraid to say that, because that might make us sound unimportant. Well, it starts one of us at a time. When I tell you that that's important to me, then you may have permission to tell someone else that it's important to you, and we begin to change the way that we value life.
The principle comes from Sabbath rest. Are you saying that we should get back to the law of Sabbath, or are you saying that we should each find our own Sabbath?
I think that's a really good question, and people have talked about that, smarter people than I, for ages, and worked that out in the theology of it. The way that I've come to make peace with it is that certainly in the Old Testament we were commanded to give 1 out of 7 days to God, because God knew that we would be busy and we wouldn't. In the New Testament, all the laws fulfilled in Christ, our rest is secured in Jesus, but at the same time, while things change in the New Testament, they don't. In a sense, it changes in that we don't owe God 1 in 7 anymore. All of our days belong to Jesus. All of our days belong to Him. So what I've tried to incorporate into my life is creating Sabbath moments. And what that looks like is, it could be even right now, wherever somebody would be sitting, maybe they're driving in their minivan. Your minivan can become your Sabbath rest if you appropriate that time for quiet. Just take a few deep breaths at the red light and then proceed. That could be a Sabbath moment. It could be that, you know, you institute Saturday morning quiet breakfast with the family. It could be that you all agree that you're going to read one book this year, and that on Friday night dinner you're going to discuss that. That could be Sabbath rest for your family. There's so many creative ways to institute it, and it's not about what we can't do, it's about what we get to do.
Yeah.
It's not a punitive thing, this Sabbath rest. It's a get to.
So if I decide to take a Sabbath rest,
Yes,
things may go undone.
that's right.
The children may go without something, the husband without something. How do we get around the guilt? We're going to talk about that.
Great.
When we come back. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Come on down, let's go. Higher, 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 higher. Everybody, let's go. Higher, 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 higher.
Okay, we're talking about giving women permission to rest. But in that, there is this tremendous weight of guilt that I didn't do all that I could have done today, as you were talking about earlier. How do you get around the guilt?
Sometimes you just have to power through it. You just have to choose that if something is important enough, then I have to do it, and it's an act of obedience, and then the feelings will come. The guilt is so, again, we have to retool our minds. It's almost like I wish my mind was a computer that I could reboot, because I have so much garbage in there that makes me think I have to do things a certain way. And certainly, first of all, coming to grips with the fact that God has modeled it, it's a mandate. If you have to put it on your to-do list to make you feel better about it, then maybe start there. You know, put rest on your little Post-it, and then you can check it off and feel better about yourself that it was actually something to accomplish. But I think the guilt will dissolve after we begin to put some of these habits into our life. You know, I spoke of the ceasing from and the feasting on. When we begin to cease from noise and feast on silence, we'll see that there's nothing to feel guilty about. When we begin to cease from busyness and feast on leisure, when we begin to cease from anger and feast on flexibility, we begin to see that these things, again, it's not about a punitive setup that God wants to punish us and say, oh, you can't do anything, so sit and, you know, we have this image of time out. You know, think about silence. In a sense, when we tell our kids they're going to be punished, they're put by themselves to be quiet. When prisoners are punished, they're put in solitary confinement. When somebody is angry at you, they give you the silent treatment. So we have this negative image of silence, and we just have to retool it. And the way we retool it is by ceasing from and feasting on. And in that goodness, God will fill us up with the rest and refreshment that our souls are so very thirsty for. So it really becomes by just, it comes to us as we begin to establish new habits.
And there is an opposite, because there is also, you really haven't done enough, you know, getting into
That's right.
that. Sometimes it may borderline being lazy, you know.
Yeah,
if I get
sure.
into the mind frame that I just need to rest today, but there are really things that I need to be doing, responsibilities that I really need to handle. Where do you find the balance?
Well, perhaps too, certainly God is a God of balance, and so we're called to be diligent and be good stewards of our time, but at the same time we're called to rest. So each person has a personal balance as to how much they need to be told to rest and how much they need to be told to be good stewards. But I think that somewhere along the line, perhaps, as we begin to take one step into rest, we'll begin to see that rest is also something that has to be perfected. It's an art too. And so there may be some joy in beginning to learn how to do that, how to accomplish rest, being creative and figuring out, how do I reduce this busyness in my life?
You talked about being barefoot, because I think that in that rest, I think the
Right.
whole purpose of the rest is to get in a place of finding God and resting with God.
That's
and you talk
right.
about being barefoot. Talk about that a little
Well,
bit.
you know, I spoke with a friend of mine, Elsie. She's 94 years old, and she lives in a retirement home. And I've noticed that every time I talk with her, she doesn't tell me about all the things she accomplished or the things she does. She's just such a quiet and peaceful woman. And I said to her, I said, Elsie, if you had your life to do over, what would you do differently? And she just sat for a minute, and then she got a little bit of a grin, and she said, you know, I would laugh and go barefoot more. And I thought, I'm only 45, there's still time for me. Perhaps this is the secret, this laughing and going barefoot more. And then I thought about in the Old Testament, you know, when Moses was encountering God, was finding his way to God. He stood at the burning bush and God said to him, take your shoes off, it's holy ground. And then I thought about, in the beginning, the very first thing that God ever declared holy was Sabbath. Sabbath rest. So perhaps the secret to entering into this Sabbath rest, to encountering God, is taking our shoes off and stepping into the holy ground. Anywhere that God is, that is holy, that is declared holy. So perhaps taking our shoes off, going barefoot. I know that I've made a commitment to only wear shoes I can slip out of easily now, because
that's
perhaps
nice.
that will help me enter in.
Yeah. And so for you, how did you find God in that Sabbath rest? Because you needed to relieve yourself from all of the stress. Where did you find the rest?
I began to find peace in letting go. I retired my tiara as Queen of the Universe, and each
A lot of us are
morning,
still wearing
I
ours.
tell you, well, you know, moment to moment, I have to say, God, okay, I retire. I recognize I'm not in charge anymore, and that's probably the source behind my busyness. Is I do want to be in charge, and perhaps we can also look there and see that, you know, it's an act of spiritual surrender to rest, to trust that it's okay to let go for that period of time that, okay, I'm not in charge of everybody's schedule and everything that has to get done. And again, it's the more we let go, the more we release, the more we discover the goodness that is found there. And it does beget more rest as we get to it. We begin to perfect that art a little bit more.
You do a lot of things, and I think you find rest even in your music.
Sure.
With your husband. We're going to hear some of that when we come back.
Oh, great.
Great, stay with us.
No more victims.
Okay, we are back with Kim, and you have someone with you, Jim, your husband.
My delightful Jim.
Oh, okay. I think I was a little tired, you know, during the
Yeah, we
interview.
need some fresh,
We need some.
yeah,
need to
something
take a
fresh.
rest.
Is that me?
Yeah, that's you. Now, listen, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Does she do nothing too much?
That's
there
a
ever
trick
time when you
question.
say, okay, do something?
She really does know how to rest well. She is a varsity napper, and I'm terrible at it, and I'm learning by watching her. And
He's
she's,
really itchy. It's not fun to nap together.
Is it different for men? You know, you've read her book.
I don't know. My grandmother called me itchy all my life when I was growing up as a kid because something is always moving. You know, I'm the guy at the restaurant that's pounding on the table all the time that you want to just throttle.
Slap him.
So-
Yeah, yeah. So how do you find rest together as a team? 25 years of marriage, and you write together. You're always together.
Yeah, that works
is
for
that a
us.
good
Does
thing?
work
Yeah,
for
for
us.
us.
Yeah, I think every marriage has its own dynamic, and ours, we're better when we're together all the time.
But we do have to tell each other to not talk about work from time to time,
Yeah.
or to not talk about the church. Jim's a pastor, and so that's kind of something on your mind all the time. So we do have to make intentional moves to rest
That's right.
together.
And so you write together the song you're about to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
You wrote it together.
That's right. Several years ago, actually. Yes, it's on. We had a group called Say So, traveled around the country, and this has been on a couple of television shows. And
Dawson's Creek.
Dawson's Creek and Party of Five, several
Yeah.
times actually on both shows. So it's, we're happy to bring it. It talks a little bit
And
about
Mom and
her-
Dad like it.
And Mom and Dad.
That's
right.
what matters. That's exactly what matters. Well, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Thanks, Deborah. I need someone to understand, someone I can respect, someone to hold my hand, I just need to connect. It's a small thing that I need, but like a change in the wind. When the sky starts to bleed, we all need a friend. Stand by me, and I will stand by you. Stand by me, and I will stand by you. When the world knocks down our door, our son is held for ransom. When lies are cheap and easy to fall for, I won't walk away or run from the heart in between. I'll be strong and I'll stay. I won't call you a fool, make a desperate scene. I won't walk away. Stand by me, and I will stand by you. Stand by me, and I will stand by you. Waking at midnight or sudden summer rain, staring at moonlight or morning's first light again. We don't have to speak, the silence is okay. If you'll just hold my hand and keep, the words will be conveyed. stand by me, and I will stand by you. Stand by me, and I will stand by you. Stand by me, and I will stand by you. Stand by me, and I will stand by you. Stand by me, and I will stand by you.
Imagine a land filled with the spirit of the true South. Elegant, gracious, where people dine above the treetops, dance on water, and play among the stars. Where every moment is extraordinary and dreams become real. For the best value and most convenient way to experience Gaylord Opryland, visit GaylordHotels.com to learn about year-round money-saving vacation packages and special events.
After the makeover of my home, I wanted to do something for Diva Supreme Sandy Sutton. I wanted to allow her to feel the excitement and joy of receiving. But what do you give someone who has given you so much?
Oh my goodness. This is too much.
No, not really.
Someone who has peeped into your innermost heart, saw your desires, and gave you exceedingly more than you knew was possible.
Everybody loves you.
I have to return the gift. I have to give to her what she has given to me.
You okay?
I have to peep into her innermost heart,
When I look in the mirror,
see her desires,
a really round face, which I've always had. My nose seems to be getting a little bit wider. My eyes used to be so much bigger and brighter. And my
and give
husband
her
tells me that
exceedingly
was the
more
first
than
thing
she
he
knows
noticed,
is
so
possible.
I figured that-
Get ready, Sandy. My gift to you, a home makeover.
Turn around, let me see you. Oh, you look beautiful.
Now look at you. Look at your hair.
I'm not talking about the home her body lives in. I'm talking about the home her spirit lives in. It's a physical, full-body makeover. The full-body makeover will start with a new smile from Dr. Jeff Garner.
Yes, I am very excited.
Okay.
Are you excited?
I've got some stuff to show you
Awesome.
that I think will be even more exciting.
Oh, this is amazing. So that's what's going to happen.
That's basically what's going to happen.
Oh, my.
There's the before,
Yep.
and then we'll have a little sneak preview here, the after.
Oh, wow. What a difference that.
We're going to go
It's
fresher, we're going to go more youthful, we're going to take care of some of those little problems you were
Yes,
born with that
yes.
you can't help.
Right?
I think you're ready to get started.
Awesome.
Yeah, we think probably with your complexion, with your blue eyes, with your fair complexion, that we're going to be able to push the shade up a little bit, but we're not going to get you neon white.
Right. Uh-huh.
And even though this is just kind of a computer image, you know, the real thing will be really, it'll pop and it'll look really fresh and clean. And
That is incredible, Jeff.
And the makeover will end with a brand new wardrobe from Marissa Ensminger at B. Barnett.
I'm excited. This is a lot of fun. Look at all of these people. Look at the clothes, the shoes. I mean, who wouldn't be happy?
What happens in between time? First, Sandy loses the weight with personal trainer Robert McGowan.
You should feel a little pull in your triceps, biceps. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, now push this one all the way down to the ground.
Then comes Dr. Jim English.
What do you really think about her as a patient? You know, when you look at her face, when you look at her body as a person, what do you think that you can give to her? What will she come out of with? What kind of feeling do you want her to have when it's over?
I want the inside to come outside. She has got such a really good heart, and it shows in her face, and it showed so well on her face for so long that she's got a few lines she doesn't want. And we want to try and erase some of them and make her look and feel as young as she does on the inside.
So, what will it take? How about liposculpting, a tummy tuck, a facelift, a chin implant, no surgery, an eyebrow lift, collagen implantation, and skin resurfacing? Well, I did say a full body makeover, didn't I? We might even give Sandy full lips, like mine.
You want some big lips
I
like
want
these,
your
don't you?
lips, darling. Remember when you used to worry that yours were big?
They were too big.
No, we need to put some fat in there.
Not for mine.
Let's see, what's left? How about permanent makeup? We'll see. I'll be there assisting Dr. Jim English all along the way, and there may be a few more surprises.
Congratulations. Surgery well done.
Hey, I'm not a doctor, but I sure do have fun playing one on TV. It's a transformation of the spirit, soul, and body.
Thank you for wearing a cross today.
Oh, yes, I wore that especially. This is my first time wearing it, and I actually bought it, and I said, I'm wearing it today.
Awesome.
For Sandy.
Watch the process and the reveal. About 20 hours later, I guess really the only question I have is it still worth it?
We're learning to love life, even through trials, tribulations, and strife.
Okay, we are talking today about resting with Kim Thomas, and I think we have some questions from the audience. Over here? Yes.
Hi. I was thinking, as I was listening to what you were saying, that rest really needs to be divided up into 3 areas: spiritual, mental, and physical rest. I wonder if you could address that, please.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Brilliant. She's
absolutely brilliant.
Woman after your own heart.
And that's how I broke the book down. You're absolutely right. You know, it's so true that at the end of a night of rest, maybe you get 8 hours, maybe even 9 or 10. 10 sounds pretty good to me. Around that, when you get that, and you wake up in the morning and you don't find that you feel refreshed, you wonder why. You know, okay, I went to bed early. Why am I not rested? That's because perhaps we might need some emotional rest and physical rest. You know. Emotional rests, we may need to consider the relationships that we're involved in. We may need to consider our attitude. Emotional rest, like ceasing from dwelling on the negative and feasting on the positive. That would be good rest for our emotional world. And then in our physical world, perhaps we need to cease from hurry. Was anybody late to anything yesterday at all? I don't know about you, but my schedule is pretty much, I'm always late for something. Perhaps we need to cease from hurry and feast on slowing down. Slow down to the rhythm of life again. Take that deep breath. That would be in our physical world. And then in our spiritual world, perhaps there are seasons where we need to cease from fear and feast on trust. I know for me, there's nothing more exhausting than a season of fear, something that sneaks in and grabs me from behind and steals away any possibility I may have at rest. And so I think you're absolutely right. We do have to treat it in a spiritual, physical, and emotional way.
Is one any more important than the other, or do we need to have them in some sort of order?
I think it's certainly personal again. Some people, you know, they run themselves harder emotionally or physically, and for me, it's an equal balance. There are definitely ways, and I find that I may be treating myself emotionally or spiritually and then forget physically, or I might forget that spiritually if I'm not in tune, if I haven't come to remember that God is a trustworthy God, I can rest my fears there, then I'm going to not be able to even enter into a physical rest or an emotional rest.
So here you have in your book, emotional rest. You know, you say cease from stress, noise, negativity, numbness, and anger. I look here and I think negativity. Sometimes we really don't know that we're being negative, but it's all in our minds, and that really holds us up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. And it creates, not only does it create stress and a lack of rest, I guess that's the best way to put it for ourselves, but then we become a lack of rest for those around us. You know, we can be Sabbath rest for the people around us, and if we're constantly negative, I don't want to be around somebody like that. You know, that takes away my rest as well. So I want to give you an opportunity for Sabbath rest by dwelling on the things that are positive. God has been so incredibly generous with us. There are so many reasons to be grateful and to be positive.
And noise, you talked about that earlier, all of the things outside of us, but sometimes it's hard to, that silence on the inside is what we really need. How do we tune out everything around us?
It is really hard, and I broke down noise into a variety of different kinds. There's internal noise, there's external noise, there's intentional noise, there's unintentional noise. Add to that your intentional and unintentional noise, and my world is really noisy.
Okay.
You know, and you've got your lawnmowers blowing, you've got your blow dryers blowing, and how do we quiet that? Sometimes that's a little easier to quiet than the voices that we rehash, the conversations we had, the expectations we have that go on inside of our minds, and sometimes we just have to say, like the psalmist, be still my soul. And dwell in the quietness of the Lord.
Okay, we're going to talk about spiritual and physical rest when we come back. Stay with us. Okay, we have more questions from the audience.
Kim, I read your book a few weeks ago, really, really liked it. Actually found it at the end of a very long, very stressful day. Was looking for a book on how to be a better mother and came across this and said, I have to read it. Now, I have read it. I've given it to my sister. I'm going to give it to my mom, my best friend. I thank you for giving me permission to rest.
That's great.
However, I still find it hard to get the physical rest I need. Every night I'm in bed, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock.
Right.
How do you do it?
Yeah, it is hard. I'm a late night person too. Are you? Can you get your 8 hours?
8.
Very
I know.
seldom.
I know. That's on the light side.
6 is good.
Yeah, well, you know, there really are facts out about how important it is. We were discussing earlier physiologically what happens in that 7th to 8th hour of rest that is really key to restoration of our body, and it is an act of obedience to God in taking care of these vessels that He's given us to live in, to get enough physical rest. And there are a variety of ways. You know, I'm a big hot bath woman. I believe that if there's anything that'll fix anything that's wrong with you, it's probably a hot bath. And if that won't fix it, add some smells to it, and that'll cover it. But
I like the idea of putting rest on my to-do list.
I think, yeah, that's a good place to start. And when you do begin to incorporate certain activities, like, say, I'm going to allow myself an extra 15 minutes at night for a nice warm bath, not too hot, because that will keep you awake, but a nice warm bath. I'm going to allow myself that at the end of each day, I'm going to have 15 minutes to read a biography of somebody I admire that I'm going to do. Setting up sort of routines for yourself that you can count on, that you don't have to panic over when it is time to get your rest, that will help. I know some people can't, my husband finds it hard to sleep in the middle of the day, so I say, well, just take a quiet time. Read something that's enjoyable to you, listen to a tape, but shut down all the outer stimuli and just take a moment to push restart. And so physically there are a variety of things. It's possible to exercise. That's a really important thing. You wouldn't think so, to rest. If you're going to rest well, you need to have some good routines, whether it's walking. I love to swim. I find that to be, I think I discovered why I love to swim, because it's the closest exercise to lying down. You know, so swimming is a great option for me for getting that exercise. There are a variety of things that we can do to help build wholeness and rest in our lives physically.
But you have a husband and a
Husband,
son.
5-year-old. Now, the 5-year-old does say, Mom, I need some thinking time. So he has grasped it already. He'll tell me, turn the radio off. I need some thinking time.
Oh, what a gift. That's great.
How can parents and wives really mold their families into this silence time, into this time
because
of
we want to
rest?
model it for our families. If we're a nervous wreck, we're going to model that that's how life is lived for our children and whatnot. And one of the places to start, I say, is to appropriate times that are already quiet. Even for yourself in the morning when you're getting dressed, resist that urge to turn on the radio or the TV. Of course, not this show. We definitely want to turn this show.
You want to turn the show on.
Perhaps those times when you could appropriate that silence for internal rest. Times, like I say, driving in the van with the children, you can appropriate that for either the silent time. Let's have our thinking time. What are we going to think about? Well, let's think about the trees that God made today. I talk about even taking theme walks with your family. And what are we going to dwell on for this walk? We're going to dwell on either the goodness of God, the gifts that He's given us, the things in our family that we're grateful for, the people we want to pray for, but a theme walk so that you have something to dwell on that pushes aside all of the things that fire at us, and we focus. Even just focusing down can build rest in our hearts and in our lives. Feasting on the goodness, that's what it comes back to.
And the most important part, the spiritual. I say most important because that is where you get rejuvenated, you know, once you understand what getting in touch with God means in that time of Sabbath. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. Stay with us. Okay. How do we connect with God during those times of Sabbath?
There's so many different tools. For myself, certainly having time to read Scripture is really important for me. Dwelling on those words, connecting with God through what He's given us as a revelation. And on the other hand, there are ways to certainly build our spiritual life. Some of the things we participate with others in community. It's a matter of, you know, gathering for refreshment together sometimes. Perhaps, I don't know, for me, prayer is extremely key for my spiritual life and finding rest in that time. Finding those times where perhaps I don't open my mouth in prayer, but maybe I just sit and listen in quiet. Those types of things, appropriating those types of things, that's really, really key for me.
Here in the book, you say that spiritual rest, you need to cease from fear, hard-heartedness, the need to know, anxiety. Well, now that need to know thing, the need to know everything, you know, we women, we need to know everything, we need to control everything. We have to make sure that everything is in our little hands.
Yeah, and it really is a joy when we finally come to feast on mystery. It's okay that we don't know everything.
I don't find that place
I know, it's hard to enter there. But you know what? That's the place where we really encounter the fact that we are the created and we are not the creator. It is those times when we rest and we say, I don't know everything, but if I really trust in an almighty and a loving God, then that's okay. I can rest in that moment. And I find feasting on mystery to be a wonderful new season in my life. To look around.
But you still want to think that there was something I should have done because I knew. There's more, you know, you just find it so hard to let go and say, okay, what happened, whatever happened. And I guess that's a matter of trusting God.
It is. It is. Well, you know, so much of everything that we do, it is letting go and not being the one that's in control. And the fact that we cannot know everything, and we're told in Scripture, we see through a glass dimly now. It's okay that I don't know everything. Once in a while, I remind myself of that. It really is okay that I don't have the answers for everything, that I have retired as princess.
Well, I'm going to have to work on that one a little bit more.
I'll meet you there.
You'll meet me there. Anxiety.
Oh, gosh. What are the things that we waste our time on by foolishly entering into anxiety? Whether the things we live in the regret, we rehash conversations, we anticipate conversations, we make plans for how is this person going to react to me when I enter into this, and we waste so much time on anxiety. I have spent more time on foolish anxiety probably than any other time waster, and that's one that I really have to confess. I have to cease from anxiety.
Yeah, and you have some rest stops that you talk about all through the book. We're going to talk about those rest stops when we come back.
Okay,
thanks. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Imagine a land filled with the spirit of the true South. Elegant, gracious, where people dine above the treetops, dance on water, and play among the stars. Where every moment is extraordinary and dreams become real. For the best value and most convenient way to experience Gaylord Opryland, visit GaylordHotels.com to learn about year-round money-saving vacation packages and special events.
Okay, welcome back. We're talking about Even God Rested with Kim, and you've got throughout the book wonderful little rest stops. What are they about?
Well, it's like when you're driving down the highway and you're on a long trip and you pull into this area called rest stop where you get, you know, something to drink or a pause off the highway. And so I use those as analogies. At the end of each of the ceasing from and feasting on, then I give you a rest stop, a little idea on how to refresh yourself specifically, some how-tos.
Okay, emotionally, you have here, buy a tiny purse that will only hold your keys, driver's license, and a $20 bill.
Yeah, this is in ceasing from stress. And I suggest that, you know, there are little things that we do in our life that stress us. One of those things for me is carrying this huge purse. And no matter how big it is, it never has what I need.
And you
I'm
never
always
can,
digging. It is the black hole. I tell you what's in the bottom of my purse the lost socks. You know, all those socks that you can never find the mate to. I know they're in there because there's something in the bottom and I don't know what it is. But, you know, those kinds of things can stress us throughout our day. Just something as simple as having this huge bag that weighs on our shoulder that carries all these
everything
things.
that's in there.
You think you do. Try it. One day, carry a purse with just a $20 bill, your lipstick, and your keys, and your driver's license. And you'll be amazed
spend the
at how...
20 and wish you had the credit card.
And you'll see how little you need, though. You'll be amazed by the end of the day. You'll go, you know, I didn't even reach for that chainsaw that I usually carry in the bottom of my purse today.
Okay.
You know?
Here's one, a spiritual rest stop. Purchase a cup.
Okay, this is the cup that you're going to put all these little things in, these things that you think that are coming up in your life. What are the things that I have to do, the things I have to accomplish? And what I'm comparing it to is when Jesus was in the garden and he went and he prayed to the Father and said, if it's possible for this cup to pass, please let it, and if not, your will be done. So I suggest having a thy will be done cup in your life. Okay. And in that cup, you put all these things that weigh on your heart, and as you significantly drop them in the cup, it's the thy will be done cup, and you're surrendering that stress for that day.
And that's what it's all about. Thank you so very much for joining us and helping us to just surrender and to let go and to just let go of it all. And let's surrender. So you can get this book, Even God Rested, and other books by Kim Thomas at DeborahInterviews.com. We'll kind of put you over to her website. So look us up, and we will see you next time. Thanks for joining us. And thank you for coming. Thank you.